Welcome to the Over, Not the Under podcast. First, we want to shout out to our sponsors. We really don't have one, but Equity Capital Mortgage Group, they're allowing us to use their podcasting room. So shout outs to them. If you need a mortgage, definitely hit up Rick, Jelani, Maya. They all got it for you. So shout outs to them. If you want to become a sponsor, hit me up. Just email me. I'll put the link in the description. Just go ahead and email us. We'll get you on here as a sponsor. But today is a special episode. We have my wife, Miss Taylor Daniels Wilder, on this episode. Taylor, what's going on?
Hi, guys. I feel like you should have, like, the little button, like, on the radio where it's like, yeah, or, like, they're, like, clapping and they're like,
No,
Next time when I come.
Of course. But yeah, so I wanted to have you on the show, my lovely, because number one, you're my rock, you're my support, right? So I wanted to tell everybody, number one, and we got some juicy stuff. We got some stuff to talk about, for sure. But I wanted to first, before we get into that and all the tea, spilling all the tea, just first. Talk about us, and I know our versions of how we met is different. But tell me or tell them how we met.
Okay, so I went to the University of Akron, and I was a CA, so it was a community assistant. And basically what I would do is I would sit at the front desk of a resident hall, and I was in exchange that time. I actually picked up the shift. I wasn't even supposed to be working that day, and I ironically was running late to that shift. I went to go grab a salad, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just like smash when I get to work because people are moving out. And it was a Saturday morning, and I was like, nobody's gonna be here. Everybody moved out yesterday. You'll have like the little scragglers, but for the most part, no one's gonna be there. So just gonna watch Netflix and eat my salad. So sitting at the desk, stuffing my face, like mouth full of salad, and Noah walks in, and I'm looking at him like, oh my God, I literally just stuffed my face, and this dude walks in. And so he asked me a question, I think of something about like carts. Like he asked where a cart was. And so I kind of like gave him like the 1 minute finger as I'm like rushing, trying to chew so I could talk to him.
Okay, we good so far.
Yes,
everything's truthful.
So I eventually tell him where everything was, and so he said thanks. So I peeped that he was wearing his fraternity shirt because he's a Kappa. So
okay, so
I was like, oh, well, where is he from? Because we didn't have any on campus. And for the record, I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. At the time, I was not wearing a shirt, and so he had obviously no clue that I was. And so before he left, I was like, oh, by the way, ski-yo, which is basically something we would say to kind of like let each other know. And he kind of like stopped mid-walk. He was facing the door, and then he turned around and smiled and was like, oh. So he came back to the desk, and we were talking. And then
by the way, I practiced that type of smile back in the day.
Oh, my gosh.
I practiced in the mirror. That was that smile.
So he turns around, and so we're kind of talking, and I was like, where are you from? Like, 'cause you're not from here. And he says he's from North Carolina visiting some of his fraternity brothers and blah, 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 blah. And so he gives me his number. And
why did I give you my number? Let's tell the truth here.
So we can talk.
Nah. So I gave her my number because here's a quick game. Some sauce for you fellas. If you give a woman your number, right, that means you were giving her, and this is kind of segue into my sales, how I do sales. But anywho, if you give her your number, then that's how they know, like, there's no pressure for them, right? They can hit you up or not hit you up. But if they hit you up, that means they want you.
No. That means that I just had made a connection, and not like romantic connection. Because honestly,
but
even though yes, we're married now. But at the time, I was jokingly texting my line sisters, like, oh, y'all, I found my husband. But ironically, I did not expect that because he wasn't from here. So I was like, okay, well, he's probably just going to hit me up every time he's in town. like, hey, what's going on? And I was a homebody, so I'd be like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. But at the time, you know, I just recently crossed the semester before that. So I'm thinking, like, you know, just have another Greek friend. So that's all that I was thinking. And plus, I was freshly out of a relationship. So in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to be single for like the next 2 years. Like, I wasn't at all thinking about a relationship. I wasn't thinking about dating anyone. It was a hot girl summer before hot girl summer was a thing in my mind. So, so we exchanged number, or he gave me his number and I texted him.
Yep.
And but all I texted him was my name and, like, you know, the connection on how he would know who I was.
And the second I saw that, I said, yeah, I got her.
Oh my gosh.
I got her.
Then we were talking and then he disappeared. And Noah's known for his phone dying, but at the time I did not know that. So I'm like, all right, well, that was the end of that. Cool. And I kind of just went about my day. And then he texted me back a few hours later, like, oh, my phone died. And then he asked me to record him strolling. I think that was the next.
No, I asked her, we were hanging out, and then I asked you to record me strolling because I recorded you strolling.
Did you?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
I did.
No.
No, I didn't record you, but you were strolling.
Well, just because I was excited and I wanted to stroll.
Yeah.
We were strolling together, but I recorded you doing it so you could show your neos.
Yep, that was true.
Yes.
Because we had one I just made up.
Yes.
And then from there, what? The whole... Because I was staying up here for like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Got the Frontier airline flight for $75 round trip.
Frontier needs to sponsor you.
No, for real. If you want to, Frontier, hey, I'll take it. Ain't nothing wrong with Frontier. But now I can fly my own planes. We're going to talk about that later. Anywho.
Yes. So that was a Saturday. So that was the end of his first week. So we only really got to spend the whole week of his second week together.
Yep.
And we were together the entire time. Other than when, you know, I had to work or he was doing something with his fraternity brothers. But for the most part, we were together. And then he left and we were talking back and forth over the summer. Now, here's where things get a little spicy. I, like I said, just came out of a relationship. It was in a very toxic, abusive relationship. It was 3.5 years. Definitely tried to leave multiple times. Couldn't. It was all bad. And so my sorority sisters were kind of concerned for me because I just met Noah and I'm over here like, he's the best. And they're like, oh, like, you just got out of this. You don't know him. You've only met him for like a week. And then you've been talking to him like he could be anybody. He's probably doing whatever he's doing in North Carolina. And you don't know. Don't make it seem like I can air out your dirty laundry too. So, yeah, he could be doing anything in North Carolina like you don't know. So I'm like, eh. So they're like, basically just, you could keep talking to Noah, but like talk to other people. But the thing is, I wasn't interested in those other people. I really only wanted Noah, but I entertained. Now.
My heart was broken. I found out. Heart was broken.
Okay. But he acts like he didn't also entertain people because one of those people he entertained ended up being his girlfriend.
Hey, that's
so,
true.
If we're going to...
This is my second choice.
Point fingers.
It was my second choice. It was my second choice.
But he also ended something also around the time where after he met me too. But we won't bring her up.
What?
No, we're not, or we won't bring up that dirty laundry. Dirty laundry.
All right.
But anyway, so talking to people now, I can't help that people fall in love with me.
Jesus.
I'm just a lovable person. Now, this such person fell in love with me after like talking to me for like a week and a half. Really is not my problem because I promise you I was not the nicest person to this person. But Noah had my phone and I was the type of person, I have nothing to hide. So if I had something to hide, it would have been hidden, but I had nothing to hide. So He had my phone. He actually left with my phone. I was at his apartment because Noah broke his phone. So he took my phone and left me at his apartment because we were cooking, and ironically, I think it was the stove broke, so we were cooking everything in the oven. Me and his cousin and his friends. Yeah. And so he took my phone to go hang out with his cousins, and then the guy who fell in love with me ended up texting me, I guess. I honestly don't even know what the message said, but Noah saw it, and then obviously it made him upset. And so then he came back acting completely different, and I was like, but didn't tell me. Did not have communication with me.
Hey, I was 21-year-old.
Then
what can you expect?
That was like, I want to say 2 days before I left. So he was acting really weird. And then I noticed at one point we were in the car together in the back of his mom's car because we were going to lunch or dinner with his mom and his grandma. And I'm sitting next to Noah in the back seat, and I look over and he's texting someone. And I looked at the text message, and it was definitely a flirty text message. And I'm like, is he really texting this person like that as I'm sitting here? Like, he didn't even try and hide it, y'all. Like,
I actually did try to hide it.
He did not try. It was not a good attempt to hide it. It was horrible. I was sitting next to him. We were very shoulder to shoulder, and he's kind of just like.
I tried my best.
And I was like.
I tried my best.
He did not. So, saw that, and I was like, all right, well, now I kind of understand where I stand. And then when I left, he dropped me off at the airport, y'all. Didn't even wait to see if I walked into the airport. He just drove off.
Did not.
And so I got back to Ohio, and I texted him like, hey, I made it. Ghosted me. Didn't talk to me it was a while. And I was completely heartbroken. Still had no idea why he stopped talking to me because he didn't tell me at that point. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm texting him, not getting anything back. And I'm like, what did I do? And I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. So I'm trying to lick my wounds. And then he comes back. And then he tells
2
me.
months later.
Yeah, it was like 2-3 months later. And so we talk about it. But he was like, we're just going to be friends. And that whole time, I was trying really hard to be his girlfriend, y'all. But I was trying not to do what are we? Because most of my guy friends told me, like, we don't like that. So I'm trying to be cool, like one of the cool girls, and not be that person. Like, what are we? Define us. Like, are we exclusive? Because, if I would have asked that question, he would have told me I definitely wouldn't have been talking to anybody else. But, I didn't. And then also I was listening to my friends, which I don't blame them because, again, coming from my past history and then literally, like, when I say the breakup was, like, fresh, like, I met Noah in May and me and my ex broke up in April. So it was, like, fresh. So I don't blame them for what they said. But at the same time, I'm happy everything happened the way that it did, as hurtful as everything was for the both of us, because I don't think that we would have been able to appreciate each other the way that we do now. Because at that point, so the girl he ends up texting ended up being his girlfriend, and she was absolutely trash.
Yeah, she was.
And then I ended up dating someone else, which was honestly just a rebound off of Noah, to be completely honest. I didn't really want to date him. My mom told me I should be nice and at least give him a chance, and I didn't really want to. I saw him more of like a friend, and I didn't really want to date a friend. But he kind of just stayed around a lot longer than he should have. But then Noah would hit me back up, like, randomly. Like, I think it was almost a year.
Yeah, it was for about a year. So, like, we were talking here and there, trying to be just friends for a year.
No, I meant, like, we didn't talk for, like, a year, and then we tried to be friends.
Oh, no, it wasn't a year. It was maybe a couple months. But then we actually...
Right, because you had me make that video for your birthday.
Yes, you did. And she was mad because she was not in that video.
I was not. She had everybody.
She couldn't be in the video. I had a girlfriend.
All of his friends in that video except for me. But we were friends at that point.
But, we were trying to just be friends. And then...
We were
No,
when
we were never friends.
No, we were friends when you weren't in Ohio.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to that man. Or who that man is. Unlike what Kiki said, we do know that man, but sorry to that man.
Sorry to that man.
But
I won't say his name, but I apologize that I definitely stepped out on you multiple times.
For sure.
Multiple times.
For sure. So.
And he definitely knew of Noah. Like, he peeped because I think one day Noah was like liking a bunch of my pictures at like 2 a.m, and he was like, "Who's Hefe Noop?" And I was like, "No one." So sorry.
Yeah. So we were never ever just friends, even through that whole thing.
But I will say though, when we were supposed to be friends, like, we actually did give
good advice.
Relationship advice, which is absolutely wild that we were even talking to each other. But that was when we were truly trying to be just friends. And so his girlfriend would freak out about something. Like, one time she got mad at him for letting one of his female friends iron his shirt. She said that was like cheating. And I'm like,
while I was in the shower.
That was wild. I'm like, why is she getting mad at that? Like, you're running late anyways. You might as well have someone iron your shirt for you. Mm-hmm.
And she's still one of my best friends to this day. One iron shirt.
Oh, I know.
Not the other one.
No.
Jesus.
No. She better not be your friend.
But and then came down one day. I was literally 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, because I
texted her.
Well, for the job that I had at that time, it took me about 30 minutes to get to work, and I had to get there at 6:30, so I would get up early to get ready.
Yep. So we it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I texted her. No, I called you. I said,
you called me?
I don't know how and I don't know when, but I'm gonna marry you. And that's why I always say manifestation is true and real. Because I literally said, I don't know how, I don't know when I'm gonna marry you. And then literally within that was 2018, 19, 20, within 3 years, married you.
Yeah. I did not believe you.
That next year, we were together. And then, which was 2018, we got together.
August 2018.
The end of 2019, we got engaged. And then
December.
And then 2021, May 15th, 2021, we actually got married.
So what's so special about May 15th?
Oh, that's the day that we met.
Yep.
That's the day that we met.
And it's our line numbers put together too, which is adorable. He's an ace and I'm a 5.
Yep. So all of it was really just God ordained, honestly. Mm-hmm. Now, I know I skipped a lot of parts in there, right? As far as us from going to the phone call to marriage, but there's a lot of things within our marriage that we had to learn with each other. That a lot of people in marriage don't know about. And this is my preference, right? I know the Bible thumpers will crucify me for this. I understand it. But I 120% say
you're living in sin.
Live with your spouse before you get married. Yes. Because living with them is totally different. How you do things, how you move, how you a lot of stuff is totally different. Like, I'll tell you one thing. I'm used to just, hey, if I'm going this place, I'm going to go. I don't really have to ask. I don't have to say. If I'm moving here, I don't have to tell anybody where I'm at.
Y'all,
because
that was
I don't need
a learning curve for Noah. I promise you.
That was a huge one.
And it wasn't, and I'm not a controlling, at the time, I'll just say partner. I am not a controlling partner. All I ask is just for safety reasons. Just let me know where you're at. So if you don't come home, I at least know where to start looking. And so he would just disappear. And then I'm like, where'd you go?
I won't do nothing, by the way. Yeah, let's clear that up.
That was also in question, too.
Let's clear that up.
And I'm just like, where did you go? And he's like, oh, I'm just, out with the boys. But then wouldn't come back or answer his phone until, late. And I'm over here worried about him. And so that was definitely a learning curve. But I also would say back to living with each other, people realize that, people grow up differently. You have different customs. You live differently. And Noah and I grew up completely different. Yep. And
I grew up poor. No, just kidding.
wasn't going to say that.
I'm just kidding. I grew up on the south side of Raleigh.
And I grew up in Shaker Heights. But, you know, our households were, you know, differently, or like functioned differently. And, but also when it came to like our chores and like cleanliness, like there was things that Noah was like, oh, you know, I'll just leave it there for later. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? Like, you need to clean that up. And I feel like if we did not live together beforehand and we moved in together right after we got married, I promise you, y'all. Right now.
We wouldn't be doing this right now.
I don't necessarily want to say we would have been divorced, but it would have been a hard first year for sure, because I would have killed him. Not literally, y'all. Like, don't come for me if, you know, no one's dead tomorrow. I did not do it, I promise. But
all over Twitter.
Oh my God.
This is the clip. This is the clip.
Got canceled before I even made it. No, but yeah, no. Because, I mean, and it's also like, no offense, but guys, especially out of like college, guys live a little differently than girls do.
True.
Now, not all, because some of y'all girls are gross.
For a fact.
But
I've seen some.
It was definitely a learning curve. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we're still trying to figure out how to live with each other, especially now that we have a baby. Mm-hmm. Having a baby definitely changes things. And so we're still working on it. But the one thing I will say that was amazing about our relationship, even from, I would say, when we had a relationship, because not before, because what I'm about to say contradicts stuff. But our communication is really well. Again, when we were dating. But we are able to talk about things without, like, because we don't really have arguments. We've had, like, a couple, like, really heated conversations. As all couples should and do. But for the most part, like, we talk it out. Like, we still get upset. Don't get me wrong. Like, we still get upset, but we try not to raise our voices at each other, and we kind of make sure that we finish the conversation before, definitely before we go to bed, but before we even leave each other. Like, let's say Noah has to go somewhere for real estate or whatever, and we're having that conversation, I won't just let him go. Like, I'll call him for us to be able to finish. But at the end, we always remember that the end of the day, we're not purposely trying to hurt each other. So I know if Noah did something that upset me, he didn't do it on purpose to upset me, and vice versa. Like, we're not out here to, like, you know, rip each other's heads off. Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, like, another thing that was a learning curve, right?
Yes.
So a lot of women,
they
always say, well, you should just know how I feel. You should just, or not even feel, you should just know what I want you to do without me telling you what I want you to do, right? So it's like, all right, for example, the dishes, right? The dishes were a huge thing. And low-key,
if you see the dishes, you should do them.
Anywho, so with the dishes, it's like she would leave them there thinking that I would see them and then be like, in my own mind, like, oh, okay, let's go ahead and do them. I wouldn't do that. I'd just be like, all right, cool. I see the dishes are there. You know, we'll get to them when we get to them. And then she would be mad because I didn't do them, because she was trying to send a message to tell me, hey, no, you need to do the dishes. And it wasn't like that for me.
Or right? It's, to clarify, it wouldn't be like the dishes are in the sink. Like, he would leave them on, like, the table. And so I will allow them to either pile up, or I will kind of... On the table? Yeah.
You mean on the side of the sink?
Oh, okay. That was in the beginning. Yes, in the beginning. Yeah, and I'll just kind of, like, keep pushing them together. And so he eventually would see, but then I would just keep washing my things. Because in my head, I'm like, well, I'm not your maid. And, like, at that point, I felt like I was the only one doing it. And I just didn't want to be the only one doing it. I wanted some help. And so I would just let him. I'd have one cup, and I'd use that one cup over and over again.
So that was another thing we talked about. We had to learn how, communication was good, but learn how to communicate when we want things.
Yeah.
And this is something that I heard and saw as well, that a lot of marriages don't divorce because of money or because of, all the other stuff that they say. It's more because of the expectations that the spouses have for each other that was never communicated at all. What do you think about that?
No, I agree. And we talked about this recently too, because I had a lot of expectations of Noah, especially in the beginning of our relationship, that I had an idea of what I thought, and I know this is definitely going to ruffle some feathers. I had expectations of what a man should do, right? My dad did a lot for my mom. My grandfather did a lot for my grandma. So I saw several successful marriages and how they function. And I see what the man did for the wife and also what the wife did for the man or husband. So it was definitely both sides. But then when, I was with Noah and he didn't do those things, I'm like, why aren't you doing this? This is supposed to, you're supposed to know this, right? I'm confused. And so then I thought maybe, again, we grew up differently. So I'm like, well, maybe he just doesn't know.
Yeah, I grew up in a one-parent household.
I didn't want to throw out your.
Hey, we're real. On the Over Not the Under podcast, we're real.
We're real. Okay.
We're real.
Okay.
We're
so
real.
Obviously I know you and your dad worked it out now, but he wasn't there. So I know, and this is no shade towards your family, but I know there's also wasn't a lot of married figures. Married people. Yeah. People in your family. So not saying that no one was married, but it wasn't a lot. So you didn't have anyone close to you other than your Aunt Janice and Uncle Joe, which are great role models. Love them. Shout outs to them. But it's not like you were in front of them every day, sure. I would be with my parents. So there were things that I expect you to do. And it wasn't just opening the door, which that was one thing, but I wasn't a full blown expecting that. But for example, if, we were both leaving at the same time, my dad would brush the snow off my mom's car after he brushes his, and you wouldn't even brush the snow off your car. Well,
that's also coming from North Carolina, so I didn't know.
I'm like, why isn't he doing these things? Or I can't think of any other examples right now of some of the things my dad did. But we had to have a conversation later, Noah and I, where he explains I'm not your dad. That's one. So you can't keep comparing me to your dad because I'm not him, and you can't expect me to be him, which is a very valid point. You aren't him, so I can't expect you to be him.
It's true. It's going to be very hard for her daughter. A hard concept for her to wrap her mind around. So
what?
That whoever she does marry is not her dad.
It's hard. And I'm a big daddy's girl, and I will say this: I definitely want our daughter to be a daddy's girl. Coming from a daddy's girl, I want her to have that relationship because it's a beautiful relationship. So yeah, whoever ends up marrying Rue, so sorry.
So sorry.
So sorry. Sorry for that, man.
But and even with that, I think for us, we what we really did or a lot was define our marriage. And this is something that I always say for everybody is your marriage is your marriage, right? And because that's some of the stuff that we heard, and it's
can't compare marriages.
You can't compare marriages because you might be Will and Jada and just out here slanging and banging, right? And you might be like some other people, and it's hey, you ain't even going outside with X, Y, and Z on, right? Mm-hmm. But however your marriage is, that's how your marriage should be. So that's why I always encourage people they say, oh, well, I can't have a woman if she doesn't do da 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 da. Hey, brother, if that's how you feel and that's what you want, then go for what you want. But I mean, you got to make sure she wants the same thing.
And I feel even before you get married, you should have a conversation with your partner about expectations and like what you expect from each other through that marriage. We had that conversation, and we had that conversation again when I gave birth to our daughter. I quit my job so I could stay home with our daughter, and we had an expectations of what that looks like. And our roles at that point, because I'm gonna tell you guys now, like, I was definitely not, blowing you up. I was definitely not the, like, I want to be a 1950s housewife. That has never been kind of where I wanted to be in life. But there was an expectation that, Noah had of me if I was going to stay home. And so if I had that expectation of him to where I had to make sure all the bills are paid, then, like, I should be open to the expectations that he had for me, which is basically, what you expect. Making sure that obviously our daughter's taken care of and the house stays, up to par. And then, also cooking. I do enjoy cooking. Sometimes I don't feel like it, which, like, and it's usually just like on the weekends, like, don't necessarily feel like it. But, during the week, have meals whenever he gets home, which is fine. But that is a conversation that we had, and we're both okay with it. Now, that may not be okay with you guys or, a different marriage. And that's just a conversation that you guys will have to have and talk through and figure out.
Hey, that's their marriage.
That's true.
Fuck them.
Oh, my God. Jeez.
Nah.
Jeez.
No, I'm just kidding.
There goes 5 followers.
Right. But yeah, I mean, and that's a great segue to talk about, right?
The topic I want to talk about.
The topic you want to talk about here. So, if you don't know already,
Kee Kee Palmer, y'all.
Yes, her baby daddy.
Which
said,
I don't know that man. Nobody knows him, so he has a lot to talk about. So Kee Kee, take his allowance away, because clearly he talks too much.
So he was saying, Kee Kee Palmer was an usher. Usher was serenading her, and then, she had an outfit on, a provocative outfit. And he felt, her baby daddy felt that she should have had more clothes on, right? Not the fact that Usher was serenading his woman, right? Not that. Because Usher is known to steal some women. If you ain't looked at the Boondocks,
oh my gosh,
then you slipping, right? But Usher was serenading her. She had, her butt cheeks out, and he felt that since she's a mom, she should, dress up more.
She didn't even really have her butt cheeks out. It was covered. She was basically wearing...
It was see-through. It was out.
She was basically... It's like wearing a swimsuit with a cover-up. So what's the difference if I went to the beach? She had the exact same much out if she went to the beach. Actually, she had more covered than if she went to the beach.
True. So how do you feel about it? As for him, how do you feel about it? Because I know everybody on Twitter has been going crazy on him, and Kee Kee done put out merch and had a song and all this stuff, which is wild. It's crazy. But how do you feel about it?
Number one, I feel like if he had a problem with whatever was going on, he should have talked to her privately. He should not have went on Twitter and expressed his feelings for his 98 followers to see. And now he probably had more than that.
They're solid followers.
Whatever. I think he had more than that, but still, it shouldn't have happened. Like, he should have, if he had a problem with her outfit, number one, I'm pretty sure they live together, so he could have been like, hey babe, like, that outfit makes me uncomfortable, or, whatever. Now,
let me stop you real quick.
Okay.
If he had said, if I said that outfit makes me uncomfortable, what would you have done?
I would have. Part of me. See, okay. The difference is we're married.
Okay.
So your opinion holds a little bit more weight than if we were dating.
But this new age, they always say, oh, marriage is just on paper.
I guess. But at the same time, I'm a firm believer of you're not going to police what I wear.
I feel it.
Now, should I keep in mind of, how you feel? Absolutely. Because we're a partnership. Now, I would have probably modified it, but at the same time, like, I would have wanted to make you happy, but at the same time, I'm not going to go out looking like a grandma if I didn't want to. So, I just think it's based off your own relationship and the two of you. So I could say what we would do, sort of, because also you wouldn't be like that. You'd probably hype me up. Now, I don't know if you would have liked me, on Usher, but the outfit, I'm pretty sure you would have had a problem with me in the outfit.
I would have had a problem with Usher.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I'm being honest. I would have had a problem with Usher. Me and Usher would be fighting. I'm going to be honest with you, right? I would have little two-piece him up and, you know what I'm saying, and got with him. Because why are you singing to my woman? And why are you all up close to my woman? That's just me, right? But with you going out, and again, this is our marriage, right? With you going out like that, I definitely would have hyped you up. But in the same breath, I'm be honest, would I have felt a little like, yo, who you going out for type joint? I would have been like, I don't know. But in the same breath, like, bro, that's Kee Kee Palmer. You got to understand who you married, who you put. Who you put a baby in, who you talking to. You have to understand who you're with, right? That is her persona, right? That's how she makes money. When has Kee Kee Palmer been in a movie that has been, or a show that has been very, very successful? Yes, I know Jordan Peele's movie, and she was in that.
Keela and the Bee.
How long ago was that, right? So, like, her persona has carried her career more than Keela and the Bee has, right? Because Keela and the Bee was her biggest
That was her breakout,
movie.
I think. Don't quote me on
No, that was her breakout.
Okay.
And that was her biggest movie, which is great, right? I ain't knocking Kee Kee at all. Because she's done great, right? But that's her persona. That's what she's putting out there. When she's on when she was on Saturday Night Live, she said, "Oh yeah, I'm pregnant. Here's my belly. I had sex." You know what I'm saying? So that's who she is, and that's okay, right? That's okay. But you got to understand that as a man,
who you marry,
who you dating.
We were talking about marriage. I got marriage on my mind.
Who's your baby mama? You got to understand that. You know what I'm saying? But in the same breath, him getting mad and saying, "Oh, you're a mom now." This is truly how I feel. Just because you're a mom doesn't mean you got to stop anything at all, right? If you're a mom, if you want to have a hot girl summer, have a hot girl summer, but just make sure you're taking care of your baby. If you want to, I'm be candid, if you want to fuck 1,000 men, do that.
I don't want to do that.
But make sure you take care of your baby, right? So if that's what you want to do, just because you're a mom doesn't mean anything. Like my sister, she's had multiple children, but she doesn't mean that she has to stop. Can't graduate high school, can't graduate college, right? It doesn't. Just because you're a mom doesn't mean that you have to stop anything.
Shout out to Ebony.
It's facts, and even on top of that, for Kee Kee, she just had a baby. Yes. But then she snapped back. Why wouldn't she?
And the Kee Kee Palmer residence.
That's what I would have done. That's where I would have been. I would have kept it in house and everything. Right now, I wouldn't have done that. How do you feel?
Well, first off, I googled him. His name is Darius Dalton, or is it do it backwards? Yes, Darius Jackson Dalton. I still don't know how he's famous. If he is famous. It did not say. So I don't know. But state your question again, I forgot.
No, I was just saying, how do you feel? If that was us, right? How would you have felt in that situation? What would you have wanted me to do? Matter of fact, not even tell me what would you wanted me to do. What do you think?
Let's play out the whole
what do you think I would have done? There we go.
All right. So if it was us, I expected either a text or you would have waited till I got home so you can process things because I got lucky with you because you like to think things before you speak. So you think before you speak. So you,
as every man should.
yes, you take time to cool off. Because I will also say the one thing about Noah is he has never yelled at me. So I have yelled at him, but he has never yelled at me.
Do you know why?
That you never yelled at me?
Yeah.
Because you love me?
Oh, of course. But also, every real man should be able to control his emotions. And if a real man can't control his emotions, then he's not a real man. He's a boy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. I just thought because you loved me. And that was amazing. Yeah, so you wouldn't have yelled at me, but you would have definitely processed and calmed down, because I would have 100% saw, I could feel that you would have got upset. And then you would have talked to me about it, and then talked about how I think it would have been more embarrassing for you than anything, because then now you got your boys hitting you up and sending you the video of me dancing on Usher.
Jesus.
Now, if roles were reversed, and, well, not reversed, but if we were in that situation and I was Kee Kee Palmer and you were Darius,
yeah,
I would have went on stage, but I would not have danced on Usher. I will say that out of respect for you, because I would have known. Again, I try not to do things that would make me uncomfortable if I saw you do it. Mm-hmm. So if, let's say you were at a Summer Walker concert and she was giving you a lap dance, that would 100% make me upset. Now, we all know Summer probably wouldn't do that, but still, I was just trying to think of a woman artist that you would go see. And so I wouldn't have went up there, or I wouldn't have danced on him.
Yeah.
I saw some clips and stuff on Twitter about like other women he's danced or sang to. Mm-hmm. I could see like me allowing him to hold my hand, and then even still like holding your hand out and kind of like dancing to the side. I probably would have done, but I wouldn't have been up on him like that. So I think that's what I would have done differently. Now the outfit would not have changed. I still would have rocked the outfit.
100%. I think the outfit should have been there. And honestly, he is just. I know a lot of people say it on Twitter, but I just honestly think it's just insecurities, right? It's insecurities, how he grew up, right? Maybe that's how he wants his household. And if that's how he wants his household, then come to Ohio. You should come to get an Amish woman. But if that's how you want it, that's fine. That's okay. But talk to your partner about that, right? Talk to your partner about that. Have that communication so that she knows what you want. Like I said earlier, marriages or relationships or anything fail because there are expectations that are never communicated. And now we have this whirlwind of social media going in on it. And God forbid, oh my gosh, if social media went in on our problems or things that we have in our marriage, imagine what that would do to our psyche. Imagine what that would do to even if we were in a relationship, not a marriage. Imagine what that would do. And on top of that, imagine what that would do for our child, right? Mm-hmm. So I think more so, yes, he said that and that hurt his relationship. But imagine as a father, as a man, you got to think about what is that going to do to your child? Because your woman, the child of your mother is a famous person. And you've known this, I would hope, at least for 9 months you've known this, right? You've known this at least for 9 months. How is this going to affect your child, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, it might blow over, but is she still going to be with you? Are you still going to be with her? Now, all because you said one comment, now y'all might blow
everything up.
You might blow everything up that could have been said behind closed doors. And that's why I say, like, it should have been said behind closed doors. He was thinking out of emotion and not thinking as a man. He was thinking as a boy and not as a man. Strictly emotion. And that was it.
And completely contradicting himself. Because another thing that, the internet has brought up is that, like, it was okay for him to post Kee Kee literally without a shirt on. She's standing there is when she was still pregnant. and she had her hand covering her breast, and she's standing there in tights, black tights, her glasses, and a messy bun, and he took a picture and posted it. But that was okay. And then she was wearing a, I think it was a leopard print outfit, full body suit. And she was twerking in front of the camera. And he recorded it and posted it, was hyping her up. So that's okay for you to do. But she couldn't wear this other outfit, which honestly was showing the same amount. Like, if you're talking about body-wise. Now, skin-wise, like, again, it was sheer, whatever. But the suit was suiting, y'all. Booty was popping. It was great. Love that for Kee Kee. But, so, like, that's okay. But now this outfit, because she wasn't with you, was a problem. Yeah. And then another thing, he also, was talking about or posting stuff with his shirt on, and everybody was, or shirt off, and everybody was coming after him. Like, oh, this isn't what a dad looks like.
Now, here's shout out to all my conspiracy theorists. I'm going to say
Here we go.
What if they just planned this?
It could be, just like, when people said that Beyonce and Jay-Z, because, who would cheat on Beyonce?
I think that was planned as well. And it was great marketing. It was amazing marketing.
It was an amazing album.
Beyonce had been talking about, put everything to the left for years. But now, what I'm saying, it's even more marketing. But, I'm not saying that's what happened. But just in case it did, it might be. But if it didn't, and he was truthful in what he felt and what he thought, he was acting out of emotion. He was just a boy. He was just a plain boy. And in any marriage, any relationship, and even business, just again, like I say, as a man, you shouldn't act off of emotion, but you should act off of sitting there, think about it, feel it. So you still want to feel that emotion. And then put logic with that emotion, think about it, feel it, everything like that. And then that's when you need to go ahead and act or talk it out and communicate. And I think just a lot of people nowadays, they don't know how to communicate. They communicate through...
That's a good one.
Alcohol. They communicate through, doing all these other things. Or, oh, I'm mad at you, so I'm going to cheat on you. Oh, I'm mad at you, so I'm going to hurt you the same way you hurt me.
I'm mad at you, so I'm going to subtweet.
Yeah, I'm mad at you, so I'm going to subtweet. I'm going to go on social media because I'm mad at you. Instead of communicating to that person what they feel. And they don't, and part of it is because they don't know how to feel. So that's just what I think. That's what do you feel as far as let's talk marriage and relationships. How do you feel about that? Do you think a lot of people don't communicate well? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Communication isn't. It's not like it's taught in schools. They make you talk, but like talking about your feelings, and especially in like, and I obviously can only speak for the Black community because it's the only one that I'm a part of. But I know for Black men, you guys aren't taught to communicate. Like, you're not allowed to have feelings. You're supposed to be a man. Men don't have feelings. Yeah. And so you're not taught to communicate. And then also with women, like, some do communicate, but it's not healthy communication. So
getting mad and raging.
Going off, like they going off on you. And I think another reason is there was some loss in communication. And I won't even say with like the older generation, because we all know how grandpa and grandma got down. Like, they may have not argued in front of you, but at the same time, behind closed doors, grandpa went out and cheated, and grandma was just sitting there. But I feel like, especially with our generation, and we have so much at our fingertips and so much to research. And I feel like if we truly cared about our relationships and truly cared about each other, then we would do the research to have that knowledge to be able to have a successful relationship.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't want to do that because that's doing the work. And correct me if I'm wrong, marriage, relationship is about, but especially marriage is about doing that work, is about communicating, is about letting that person into your vulnerable places. And if you can't do that, then that means you need to work on yourself because you haven't allowed yourself to go into those vulnerable places. And if you haven't allowed yourself, how the hell are you going to allow somebody else to do that for you?
Mm-hmm. And I also noticed that people have a different idea of relationships. Like, there's girls like, oh, I need, a hood man. Like, I need, him to be a little rough around the edges. I need a roughneck. And then, then you got people like Blueface and Jesus. So then that whole thing. But then it's crazy that like people look at them and they're like, oh yeah, that's what I want. Like that's the type. Like, what's that one rap song? It's like tattoo my name on you so you love me.
Oh, tattoo my name on you, girl, so I know it's real.
Yeah, like that's wild. No.
That's I like that one.
No.
I like that one.
No. I'm not getting your name tattooed on me. Either you see it from my actions or you ain't gonna see it at all.
Nah, I feel you though.
I'll wear an anklet. I'll wear a Noah anklet.
I feel it. So before we wrap up though, what's something, number one, I'm gonna ask you about 3 questions. I got 3 final questions
I'm ready.
for you. Number one, what do you want to tell the viewers? Somebody that thinks they're ready, or whether it be a man or a woman, they think that they're ready for marriage. What would you tell them? What advice would you tell them?
You want me to look in the camera?
Whatever you want to do.
I would say make sure that you know yourself before you go and get married, because a lot of the times you can lose yourself in your marriage. You start to do things, even though doing things for each other is good, but you also should still do things for yourself. So if you're still questioning who you are and your growth, I would say hold off. Now, you might get lucky, because I did not know that when Noah and I got married, but Noah gave me the space to be able to figure out who I am. And he encourages me to figure that out. So if you have that person, then that's amazing. And, you guys can grow together, but also grow as yourself. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So that's definitely one thing. And I forgot the rest of the question. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, just okay. What would you tell them? Some advice.
Let's see, what else would I say? Make sure you communicate. Communication is key, and healthy communications. Even if there's been times where no one wants to talk, I'm not ready to talk. And I know that if I do talk,
for a fact,
I will 100% hurt his feelings. So there have been times where we had to say, okay, you know what? If you're not ready to talk, tell me that. Because I was 100% the type of person to run away from a conversation. Literally, I will walk away. He would say something and I would literally just walk away. And then eventually come back and apologize and I'm sorry, but that wasn't healthy. And I had to change that because I knew it wasn't healthy. That was definitely a new thing that developed in the relationship before Noah. And there was definitely some trauma there from my past relationships there. And that's another thing that I would make sure that you guys clear up, is that if you have trauma from your past relationships, make sure you address those and make sure that you actively work on it. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be completely gone by the time that, you guys are getting married, engaged, whatever, but at least acknowledge it and acknowledge that you're working on it and actually work on it. Don't just say you're working on it, actually work on it. So now, if I'm not ready to talk, I'm like, you know what, I can't have that conversation with you right now because I'm going to say something that I don't mean, or I'm too upset and I don't want to hurt you. So I'm like, give me a minute, and when I'm ready, I will come to you and then we can talk about it. And literally, that'll take me about 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops. And I'll come back and be like, hey, you ready to talk? And most likely he's like, yeah. And then at that point, I'm calm enough to where we can have a conversation. And yes, it's emotional, but the tonality of the conversation is very low.
It's still love. It's love in the conversation.
It's love. And I'm able to receive what he's putting out. Because before, when I'm hot, I can't receive it. Like you'll talk to me and it'll just go straight either over my head or through one ear and out the other, and I don't want to hear what you have to say. And I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to hear you so I can respond, not hear you so I can understand. And that's another thing. Make sure when you guys have that conversation, you're having a conversation to understand each other, not so you can have another thing to say to whatever they just said. So I think I just went on a rant, but yeah, that's about it.
Cool. And last question before we wrap up. I always ask everybody this.
Oh gosh.
Younger Taylor.
Oh jeez.
What would you tell her about marriage? In general. Not, it doesn't have to be advice or just letting her know what happened. What would you say?
Marriage is hard. Marriage is also fun. Marriage is not a fairy tale. It's not what you see in the movies or the TV. They definitely Disney it up. But it is worth it. And if it's with the right person, you will 100% enjoy it. But don't expect a picture perfect princess fairy tale ending, because it's not, but it can still be a great ending to your life movie or whatever, because I swore my life was a movie at that point.
It still is.
Yeah, I guess.
Still is. Well, thank you, Loveland. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I would say I'll see you later, but I see you at home. So I see you all the time. So I love you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being on here.
You're welcome.
Shout outs to Over Not the Under Podcast. Again, shout out to our sponsors, because it ain't none. But why don't you become a sponsor? Exactly. Why don't you become a sponsor? All right. Again, shout out Equity CMG. They are the ones that allow us to use the podcast room. They're the ones that are going to get your mortgages done. Shout out Ohio Fast Title, because they're the ones that are going to get your title done, right? Shout out to Torty Space, because they're the ones that are going to get your pictures, videography, anything that you need, realtors. Hit them up. Don't be shy. You got this. Appreciate it, y'all. Y'all be safe. Be easy. Peace.
Should have music.